to Cristiano Homeschool Academy's 2025 Senior Thesis presentations. Since the Faculty of Eloquence is available for both sides and is a very great service, enforcing either right or wrong, why do not good men study to engage it on the side of truth, when bad men use it to obtain the triumph of wicked and worthless causes? Those words from St. Augustine in his Rhetoric dictate what we are doing tonight. Tonight we have one good man and three good women who will exercise the art of rhetoric on topics that they have been studying and writing about all this year. But in another sense, what they're doing here is the fruit of years of study, the fruit of years of engaging with grammar, writing, logic, rhetoric, and finally, in the art of public speaking. What they're about to do deserves our full attention and respect, as it is something of great magnitude that they have completed. So thank you, students, for all of your work on this and for what you're about to gift us tonight. I'd like to take a moment to recognize their thesis tutor, Mrs. Erica Adam, over there in the red. Their public speaking tutor, Mrs. Amy Blizzard, right here. And to thank Mr. Storm Blizzard and Miss Julia McCall for working on our panel of judges for this event. At the end of every thesis, there will be a short time where you will hear music play while judges continue to fill out their question and answer sheets about how the presentations went and questions that they would like to ask of our thesis presenters. You should use that time to formulate your own questions. There is no guarantee that there will be time for audience questions after each presentation, but there is the possibility. So think of questions you might like to be asking as well. If you need to use the restrooms, you can go out that door, follow all the way around the hall, back up this hall on the other side of the center area, and you will find restrooms there. I would ask you, if at all possible, not to leave during the middle of a presentation, as it could be distracting to one of our presenters. In that same vein, if you would take this moment to turn your cell phones off now, that would be greatly appreciated. Without further ado, let me introduce our senior students who will be presenting this evening. Mr. Caden Pitz-Shearer. Miss Valerie Cox. Miss Lizzie Diffie. And finally tonight we will hear from Miss Kara Maddox. So without further ado, Caden.
Hello, my name is Caden Pitz-Shearer, and my thesis is on the harm in paying college athletes. The topic of college athletes receiving compensation is rising rapidly and has accumulated significant attention. With the increasing revenue and large sums of viewers throughout college sports, the questions, why is paying college athletes harmful or beneficial? Or why does paying or not paying college athletes matter? Are asked by some who may believe the topic of paying college athletes may not carry much relevance or importance. The NCAA claims it is trying to preserve an atmosphere of amateurism, while other schools advocate for a more competitively balanced environment of well-being and equality for student athletes. Athletics have evolved financially and competitively in recent years, and there are benefits and drawbacks concerning paying college athletes. The equality and well-being of student athletes will be evident if they do not receive compensation. The beginning of recorded athletics took place in 776 BC in ancient Greece as the first Olympics. They competed in sports such as running, long jumping, discus throwing, wrestling, and javelin. Although there was a limited variety of sports at this time, the Greeks were very competitive. The pentathlon was the name of the five-sport event that was hosted for the Greek Olympics. The name comes from the word pente, which in Greek means five, and also from the word athlon, which means competition. This was a main form of entertainment to the Greeks as they competed for a valuable olive wreath prize. Many centuries later, in the medieval time period, there were new skill events such as jousting and archery. These implementations were mainly to increase the fighting ability and strength of men. The people were passionate about these sports, especially on Sundays when they were free of work and had feast days. These were the foundational competitions before many other modern sports were created, like baseball, football, soccer, basketball, etc. The first college baseball game was played in 1859, followed by the first college football game played in 1869. The first college soccer game was played in 1876, and finally, the first college basketball game was played in 1893. In 1906, the National Collegiate Athletic Association was founded with the purpose of maintaining the safety of college athletes and regulating the rules of college sports. A few decades later, after World War II, the NCAA adopted an action known as the Sanity Code, which covered financial aid, recruitment, and academic standards with the purpose to keep amateurism in college athletics. However, after many decades of debate and litigation, college athletes were able to receive money from NIL, name, image, likeness deals as of July 1st, 2021. This means that college athletes individually are able to earn profit based on their name, image, and likeness. The environment of paying college athletes is a constantly changing landscape, as the players were not able to receive any kind of monetary compensation before 2021. As was previously mentioned, on July 1st of 2021, college athletes were able to earn money off of NIL deals, and then as soon as the 2025 to 2026 season, athletes might be able to receive direct compensation from their schools due to the settlement the NCAA is putting together with the House. In this settlement, colleges can distribute at least $22 million per year directly to all athletes combined. The NCAA's core purpose is affected by this issue because of the constant change, which can never preserve a clear difference between amateurism and professional sports. Subsequently, there are risks because of this problem. The education of the college students could be at risk if they receive payments from colleges. There is also a risk of losing fairness because some college athletes that attend blue blood name schools have larger endorsements and can afford to pay their players, while other players that attend smaller schools may not receive payments at all, thus upsetting the competitive balance by attracting the better athletes based on affordability. Those who support monetary payments to college athletes argue that they deserve part of the revenue to their school because of their sport. Some college students may also struggle with having enough money to get by, and they constantly struggle with the blood, sweat, and tears they place into these sports each and every day. According to those who are for paying college athletes, these athletes deserve to receive compensation and be able to live comfortably without seriously worrying about money. This is a serious occurrence that has been taking place, and the problem of paying college athletes cannot be overlooked. College athletes should not receive compensation. Education should be first in a college athlete's mind before focusing on money given from the college. Scholarships can be provided to athletes to make college more affordable or make it free of charge altogether. Less wealthy schools lose out on recruiting top talent if student athletes are paid. Amateurism should be maintained for college athletes to help them become better people and build good qualities, rather than becoming selfish and greedy because they begin to idolize money. Many critics have voiced the opinion that college athletes should receive compensation. College students who are also athletes routinely fall into debt due to the expenses of college. The U.S. News and World Report found that out of roughly 30,000 college students surveyed, 37% were unable to afford the student loans they had taken on and fell into debt. However, about 60% of athletes left college with some form of debt from student loans. Even if able to manage their level of debt, most students still left college with some kind of debt. Having this debt can affect students in their future lives, such as purchases of cars or homes, while struggling to pay off their college debt. Receiving compensation would likely lessen debt and future stress when student athletes have left college. Following that, another argument for paying college athletes is that some colleges do not provide athletic scholarships at all. A big reason for this is the lack of money in the sports departments of these colleges, because they are typically small schools without lucrative sports. It is also determined by the level of division the colleges are in, as shown by this quote from the writers of Grand Canyon University. Quote, "Only Division I and Division II schools offer athletic scholarships. Division III schools do not." End quote. Division III schools are less focused on athletic scholarships than on academic scholarships, because most of them consider academics to be the main purpose of college. Schools that are well known for their athletics, however, are likely to give out athletic scholarships to players. Examples of these universities are University of Alabama, The Ohio State University, University of Michigan, University of Miami, University of Oregon, Penn State University, Duke University, and many more. All of these colleges receive large sums of money from their athletic programs, paying their coaches handsomely, and offering scholarships to talented athletes. There are many hidden gems playing on Division III teams, but because they aren't in lucrative programs, they lose the opportunity to get college expenses paid. Following that, Division III debt can be unmanageable for students. Writers at NCAA state that 80% of Division III schools are private colleges. Private colleges are not inexpensive and can harm students financially. For example, writers at the City University of New York declare that the average price of tuition for the New York region is $43,000. Tuition for the public colleges, City University of New York and State University of New York, are approximately $7,000. A $36,000 difference can be the reason why students attending private schools end up in debt. Considering that 80% of Division III schools are private schools, the prices of the tuition can make debt unmanageable for Division III athletes. The argument that some find most compelling for paying student athletes is that college athletes should receive compensation because they greatly contribute to the revenue of these colleges they attend. This is a fair argument because many spectators find entertainment in watching these talented college athletes participate at a high level. Such statistics make the point. Quote, in 2020, during the pandemic, the NCAA generated very low profits, $519 million, due to the cancellation of college sports events such as March Madness, end quote. When college sports continued after the pandemic, the NCAA produced much larger amounts of money in the following 2 years after 2020. Quote, in 2021, college sports bounced back from the effects of the pandemic, generating record revenues of $1.16 billion, end quote. Following that, writers at Grand Canyon University also state that, quote, in 2021, the NCAA generated revenue of $1.14 billion, end quote. This shows how the lack of college sports during the pandemic caused the money that colleges and the NCAA were making to plummet. Not only that, but it shows the importance of the players and how spectators wanted to watch them participate. These money grabbers at the colleges collect millions of dollars through revenue and do not pay their athletes any portion of the earnings. By dint of these arguments, some believe that college athletes deserve part of the revenue that colleges are earning. While it is true that debt is a common dilemma for college athletes and students, most debt is manageable to pay off. Financial aid is available to help students take on costs of tuition and graduate with little to no debt. A study of Texas college students supports this claim. Quote, 95% of students graduate with no undergraduate student debt or manageable levels of debt in relation to their potential earnings, end quote. Thus, most debt could be moderate and easily managed because of higher income based on a college degree. In addition, at least among 2017 Texas college students, 96.3% had no debt or manageable debt just 5 years after graduating. However, it is also claimed by writers at DataBridge that, quote, less than 95% of African Americans/Black students have manageable levels of debt, end quote. M. Schreiner, a survey statistician in the Poverty Statistics branch of the U.S. Census Bureau, records that, quote, Black individuals made up 20.1% of the population in poverty in 2022, but only 13.5% of the total population. This results in a ratio of 1.5, meaning that the Black population was overrepresented in poverty. Racial differences in family wealth have always been true, but colleges should address the racial inequity for all African American students, rather than just those competing in college sports. Neither the prevalence of student athlete debt nor its racial inequities are valid arguments for paying college athletes. The second argument, that some scholarships do not cover the entirety of the student loans, is a fair one, but the claims involving this argument are misguided. College tuition is expensive for everyone, and student debt is expected for most students. Melanie Hansen, a research analyst, states that the federal student loan balance is $1.693 trillion as of 2024. This amount feels unfathomable to even grasp, and statistics have only shown an increase in the debt. For example, Hansen states that, quote, total student loan debt increased $43.752 billion in 2024, end quote. Student debt is a massive problem for most students, athlete or non-athlete. It is unfair to say that college athletes should be paid because they are college athletes, especially for college athletes earning scholarships. Many students who are adequate students or even above average students may not receive scholarships and are stuck facing more debt than these athletes who are receiving scholarships. It would be unjust to pay college athletes, seeing that the majority of college students are struggling with student debts. The argument about Division III schools sounds convincing at first, but is ultimately unimportant because most colleges help cover expenses for athletes. Jacob Im, the content manager at North Central College, claims, quote, "In fact, 75% of Division III athletes receive some type of financial aid, which can be need-based or merit-based. So while full athletic scholarships are not available, most Division III schools do help their students pay for college," end quote. It is true that financial aid applies to students at schools in all three divisions. So for athletes who did not receive a scholarship, financial aid can still be provided to make college expenses easier to afford. In addition to receiving financial aid, an athlete attending a Division III school may receive an academic scholarship to help contribute towards college expenses. Finally, while college athletes helping their school can earn revenue may be the case, they still should not receive compensation from their schools. Paying college athletes could educationally harm other students who are not athletes. Even though the NCAA brought in over $1 billion for 2 consecutive years, colleges would likely still pull money out from education programs to pay athletes. This would drastically weaken education for students and will look careless for education and overly partial toward athletes. There is also a strong possibility that financial aid could become less effective for students and would affect resources that are provided to these students who do not participate in athletics. Given such likely adverse effects of paying college athletes, the likely adverse effects outweigh the benefits, and college athletes should not receive compensation. College athletes should not be paid because lucrative payments can distract them from what is the true focus of college, education. The original purpose of college, which has been hijacked by many programs, including athletics, is to provide an education for students to become successful as well as well-rounded when they continue their lives. Grand Canyon University supports a similar plan. Quote, "College athletes who get paid to play might pay less attention to their academic obligations, putting more of an emphasis on the work that they're paid to do," end quote. The payment can not only take away from the academic education of the athlete, but essentially turns them to a job. The main purpose of college is to provide an education, but this payment of college athletes can blind the importance of the education. Money can be a distraction for anyone because it is a resource that everyone needs to be able to live. These athletes, when attending college, instead of valuing betterment and learning growth, their main goal can become focused towards gaining money. Many college athletes focus on their present earnings instead of investing into their future non-athletic careers. Many athletes have not been challenged academically because school administrators would help them pass so they would have college eligibility to play their sport. For example, the University of North Carolina knowingly kept giving athletes with failing grades academic eligibility to keep playing year after year. Julius Peppers, a former NFL star, had a 1.5 GPA, but was then enrolled in a course which likely guaranteed a high grade. In fact, any college who was at risk of losing their college eligibility at North Carolina was sent to a Swahili course to receive a good grade to ensure their eligibility. In addition, Smith and Willingham also state that, quote, "Between 1994 and 2005, at least 9 football players attended every single course, earning Fs or FAAs across the board in their final fall semesters during which they concentrated on what really mattered to them, football," end quote. The focus of these college athletes should not be fully directed towards sports, but rather a healthy mix of education and sports. Another example at the University of North Carolina involved former NFL defensive tackle Marvin Austin. Similar to Peppers, he was receiving help from professors at the university to keep eligibility and was taking classes that were simply there to boost his grades. Freshmen at the University of North Carolina are normally not allowed to take 400 or 500 level, unless they are in other advanced placement classes or granted permission by the professor to take the course. However, Austin was taking a 400 level class without being in any advanced placement classes. In fact, Austin scored so poorly on the written portion of the SAT that it was low enough to make him take a lower writing level class to catch up, which he took in the subsequent fall semester. Austin's transcript showed that he received a C- grade or lower in 7 out of 17 classes. Austin was carrying a 2.21 grade point average. The assumption is that he was sent to this 400 level class by a professor with the intent that he would receive a respectable grade and maintain college eligibility. This is one example of a player who did not thrive in education nor receive the eligibility fairly through their own efforts to improve grade point average. Unfortunately, many athletes will push all education to the side and focus on growing pro in their sport as well as receiving NIL deals in college. In addition to the college football scandal at the University of North Carolina, many basketball players on the 2005 University of North Carolina basketball team did not have to worry about their grade point averages because they were boosted for them. This scandal took place over several decades from 1993 to 2011, where these paper classes were provided for athletes. The cheating ruined the opportunity for each and every one of these athletes to receive a proper education, Education is important because it leads to knowledge, qualifications, and skills that can be shown in everyday life. However, the payment of college athletes can hinder these qualities from being shown to their full potential. Financial compensation is already provided through scholarships, making further financial compensation excessive. The compensation can vary depending on the college and the talent of an athlete. According to Grand Canyon University, quote, many college athletes receive sports scholarships, which are meant to be a form of compensation for their work, end quote. This quote alludes to the fact that college athletes receive adequate compensation from their school due to the scholarships. Some college athletes even receive full ride or full tuition scholarships. These scholarships can save students many thousands of dollars on tuition, which is already extremely generous compensation. College athletes should also not be monetarily paid because receiving scholarships can benefit their lifestyles by giving more opportunities to attend a university and earn a degree. The article, Importance of Athletic Scholarships, states that athletic scholarships do not only limit athletes to professional sports. They can use this scholarship to earn a degree in something sports related, such as coaching, athletic administration, or a physical therapist. Regardless, athletic scholarships afford men and women the opportunity to play for a collegiate team, possibly play professionally, and earn a degree without the financial burden. This alleviates the stress of a hardship financially due to the scholarships given and offers many chances to find job opportunities through their degrees. Receiving scholarships is very important because it can give opportunity to a quality education. The final reason why college athletes should not receive compensation is because they are amateurs. This does not mean that they are inadequate in their sport or lack talent. It simply means that they are not a part of professional associations. The NCAA strives towards preserving amateurism to show an overt difference between professional sports and college sports. This is important and valued deeply by the NCAA because the association values education greatest and treats athletics as more of an extracurricular to benefit athletes. College athletes get an opportunity to compete at a high level, and games are still often televised, which gives players the opportunity to compete at a high level, and games are still often televised, which gives players the opportunity to be seen by thousands of people, depending on the importance or popularity of a game. These athletes likely receive enjoyment from playing their sport and also receive high caliber coaching. College level games often have a bigger arena to play in compared to high school games. College athletes can build good character traits by playing that will benefit them in their future rather than just focusing on money. This is very important to shaping the athletes into good people because focusing on money that they are given rather than the teammates or college can turn into selfishness or greed. Being a good person with well-rounded qualities is substantially more important than being paid money at an amateur level of sports. Building great qualities at a young age can significantly benefit people in their future endeavors. Overall, amateurism should be kept for these college athletes, and they should not receive compensation so they can focus on the things that are more beneficial in life rather than money. Should college athletes receive compensation? Will the compensation truly benefit these students? The answers are complicated. The real benefit for these student athletes is improving their learning skills and rigorous learning atmospheres. Focusing the mind on something more rewarding than money, such as education, shapes these athletes into quality people, striving to always achieve more and make a positive impact to others in society. Student athletes will develop confidently and will indisputably be ready to make a difference in the world with the wisdom they have attained throughout their education process. Instead of living with a mindset dominated by money, these young athletes can live with a mindset of wisdom and fruitfulness. College athletes should not get paid and continue to not get paid so that future generations of college athletes will produce well-rounded, good-hearted, quality people who will positively change the world for years to come. Thank you.